All right, so let's talk about Fabien Moreau. We talked to you just last week, and you were talking about how Moreau has had a bad year, and I don't argue with you there. Is it a situation where maybe he's better served in kind of the spot that he played yesterday versus what he plays during the regular season?
Without
Generally?
question. No, I want to see more,
Right.
but he is unquestionably better outside. He's a bad slot corner, and that's a hard job. Like slot, I actually think slot is harder than outside. Now, that dynamic can change if you're facing DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, that's harder to play DeAndre Hopkins outside than most of the slot receivers in the NFL. But because you don't have that sideline as protection, it's really tough to play in there, and there's a lot of communication that has to happen, and Moreau struggled with every single facet of that job. But you put him outside yesterday and say, hey, here's kind of your silo. You're not going to have to do that much where you're crossing the field. You know, they'll challenge you vertically, and he can just be an athlete. Fabien Moreau's a sick athlete. That dude can run. He's strong. And you see all that stuff yesterday. It's, you know, that interception he has deep. But then you see maybe he's got a better understanding of where things sit outside too. The interception to close things out was a really smart play. You know, he knew there's no Hail Mary coming. They knew it's going to be hook and ladder, and he goes and jumps the hook. I can't remember seeing that. That's brilliant stuff from him. So for him to be able to shift outside, I think is big. Moreland's probably more of a slot guy long term, so he gets to slide inside and had a pretty solid game. Could have had a really big game. You know, there was just seconds before Dunbar's pick, Moreland could have had a pick six. So, yeah, I think that's, you know, you talk about the win for everybody with Josh not playing. For Fabien, he might have been the biggest winner of them all.
Joined by Craig Hoffman, covers the Redskins for 106.7 The Fan. He's brought to you by Dell EMC and TVAR Solutions, transforming the federal data center. So Haskins misses the final snap to take a selfie with a fan. I don't think it's a huge deal. I'm guessing Bill Callahan probably thinks otherwise. I'm guessing it's something that's not going to happen again. He's going to get a talk about the way the end of that game transpired with Keenum coming in for the final kneel down.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. And I, you know, Bill initially was laughing about it. He's like, yeah, we couldn't find him. And then someone followed up and was like, hey, you're kind of laughing about this. Like, what's the deal? He's like, no, like it's something we'll address, but let's not, you know, I got to find out more. I think Bill's, you know, who we'll see, you know, is he the kind of guy that's going to figure out, oh, he's taking selfies? Well, that's a big deal. But, you know, he's celebrating with fans. What he was doing to celebrate is kind of irrelevant to me. And I just think overall, from the moment he makes, and I told this to Russell on pregame or on postgame last night, and after sleeping on it, my opinion hasn't changed. It's from the moment he completes the ball to Terry to set up the game-winning field goal, he acted like a guy who had never been there before, which is fine in a way because he'd never been there before. He'd never won an NFL game as a starting quarterback. And so to see the youth, the fact that he liked winning, all that stuff, like I'm kind of okay with it. He won. Just don't do that again. And celebrating with McLaurin instead of being on top of the clock, where they all of a sudden are now in a weird situation where they have to call timeout because their quarterback is not paying attention at all on a running clock with 20 seconds to go. To now, of course, could have just waited, let Dwayne run around in circles and call timeout with 6 seconds left. That was, and then if not, take a knee and in wherever Hopkins wants the field goal, whatever hash or the center, and then spike it. Like, figure out how to kill the other 15 seconds. That's bad coaching. But for Dwayne's sake, like, you also should be in command of that situation. And then to not realize that the game wasn't over, to how he handled the press conference, I thought was kind of odd. I'm not going to overrate press conference.
He's a prickly guy. He's definitely got a huge chip on his shoulder.
For sure. And there's elements of that are really positive. But he's going to, I think he'll learn over time how to handle success. And that's part of Dwayne's learning curve, is how to handle failure and how to handle success. Yeah. And I'm okay with him learning, especially, this is why I think it's so important for him to play right now. The results don't matter this year. But the more stuff he experiences, the more stuff he'll be prepared for in the future. So while I would never, like, it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It doesn't mean it's a big deal and he's going to be a failure. I'm not looking at that press conference and be like, oh, he's so arrogant. What a bust. I'm like, no, that's a kid who's never won in the NFL before and has been hearing from a lot of people how bad he is and how much of a failure he is and that he's going to be a bust, and he just proved them, in his mind, he proved them wrong. And I'm okay with all of that as long as he then takes those experiences forward and starts acting like he's been there before, because there's just too many games in this league, and it's something where, you know, that professionalism has to happen, because you're also in a locker room with grown men that if you do that stuff all the time are going to start to roll your eyes and you're going to lose your locker room.
Look, I'll say it. In my opinion, he's pretty immature. But, you know, he's 21, whatever the hell he is.
For sure. No, he is immature, but at 22,
Yeah.
he's, you know, there's going to be a level of that.
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to see him grow. What I will say as a positive is that there were a ton of plays to be made there. And, you know, I don't know anything about quarterbacking, but what I'm watching from my couch, it looked to me like he was generally making the right reads. He just had too much smoke on his ball. You know, he needs a little more air under some of these. He needs to be a little more accurate. I understand he didn't want to underthrow because he was playing a good corner, the guy that had McLaurin. So, okay, I'll buy that. But if he could take a little off his fastball and just hit on a few of these things, I think you have something that you can work with. I saw enough there. If he can harness this, that we might have something.
Without question, his decision-making was better. His decision-making was absolutely better than it was against the Jets. There's still a couple plays, but, you know, even guys who have put up monster numbers and won in this offense, because remember, it is the same offense. You know, Cousins, Alex Smith, how often do we talk about them missing stuff? So you're just going to miss stuff in this league.
Of course.
But the question then becomes, how consistently can he be accurate? And I think this, more than the decision-making and more than the other stuff, is the biggest long-term question with Dwayne, because he wasn't accurate in college. You didn't have to be. Guys were so open in college with so much consistency that he could complete 70% of his balls, and, you know, he's throwing for 50 touchdowns and all that kind of stuff, and the numbers look amazing. But if you watched, what is quote-unquote accurate in the NFL is just different, because the coverage is a lot tighter. You have to put the ball exactly where it's supposed to be. And so, yeah, he missed Terry a bunch. And, yes, he's trying to throw the ball to make sure Darius Slay can't get hands on it, but that's the league. The league is playing guys like Darius Slay. The league is hitting those tight window throws that honestly weren't that tight. Terry McLaurin smoked Darius Slay all day. That kid is sick. I have not seen a corner cover him yet. Tre'Davious White from Buffalo was the best one, and he still won consistently on White on a day where they obviously didn't pass a whole lot. So, you know, Terry made it about as easy as you're going to see a receiver make it, and against a corner who's that good, and Dwayne missed him a bunch. Terry should have had almost 200 yards receiving yesterday. But the good news is Dwayne was looking there. Dwayne was not afraid to throw those balls. Dwayne's eyes were in the right place to see Terry win against Darius Slay. So those are all positive things. He's got to clean up the mechanics.